The UAE is a land of many quirks, contradictions, and wonders. Sadly, your average Westerner's knowledge of this prosperous yet barren Gulf state is limited just to the city of Dubai. But there's a whole lot more to this surprisingly important nation. These are the 10 things you didn't know about the UAE. It turns out that the UAE is a great place to be. That is, if you don't want to die. The United Arab Emirates has a mortality rate of just 0.9%. To put that into perspective, the United States has a mortality rate of 8.1%, which is well behind the UAE. What is interesting is that the top 4 countries with the lowest death rates are all Gulf states, with the UAE leading the entire region. The reasons for this area of Emirati superiority are many. The UAE's affluence in oil money has allowed the country to heavily invest in its health services, as well as its infrastructure. Foreign doctors are attracted to the UAE by the promise of working with state-of-the-art equipment, as well as the potential to work with some of the world's wealthiest clients. In the major cities of the UAE, the hospitals are often the envy of the world. You wouldn't be able to tell the UAE does so well in the realm of health just by looking at it. But when it comes to looks, the UAE can be deceiving. When it comes to debt and taxes, the UAE is a great place to be. In both categories, the UAE has no personal income tax to speak of. Instead, the UAE's government budget is paid entirely through oil revenues, property taxes, and sales taxes. As a result, the UAE boasts the lowest tax burden as a percentage of GDP in the entire world, coming in at just 1.4% of GDP. In contrast, the United States has a tax burden of 26.9% of GDP. While it is true that the United States has a robust welfare system and a global empire to finance, it cannot be denied that when it comes to wealth, the UAE is more likely to let you keep it than many other countries. When many people see the wild success of the UAE, they become shocked when they learn that the UAE is in fact an autocracy. After all, many people assume that a country's success can only come with freedom and universal suffrage. The UAE defies this perception and in many ways embodies dictatorship done right. The government of the UAE has roots in the tribes that once ruled the scattered fishing villages of the Gulf region. Today, those same families are still in control and are unimaginably wealthy thanks to the country's oil wealth. The structure of the UAE's government is wildly different, however, from your average run-of-the-mill dictatorship. The constituent emirates of the UAE are Abu Dhabi, which serves as the country's capital, Ajman, Dubai, Fujairah, Ras Al Khaimah, Sharjah, and Al Quwain. Each emirate is governed by an absolute monarch. Together, these regional autocrats jointly form the Federal Supreme Council of the United Arab Emirates. One of these monarchs is selected to serve as the President of the United Arab Emirates. The President of the United Arab Emirates serves as the country's head of state and manages the country's international affairs. The President of the UAE is also the Supreme Commander of the UAE's Armed Forces and Chairman of the Supreme Council and Supreme Petroleum Council. Officially, the President of the UAE is elected every 5 years by the Federal Supreme Council, but because the ruler of Abu Dhabi customarily also holds the presidency of the UAE, this office is de facto a hereditary one. However, in each constituent region of the UAE, an emir's word is absolute law, and the President of the UAE may not interfere in the internal affairs of an emirate. To an outsider, the decentralized yet authoritarian nature of the UAE is truly a sight to behold. One interesting quirk about the United Arab Emirates is its population demographics. The demographics of the UAE are so bizarre, most of this video could be devoted to discussing them. However, the strangest statistic of them all is the UAE's gender ratio. The UAE has the highest prevalence of males in its population, meaning that there are 2.19 males for every female in the UAE. This situation is the complete opposite of the small Baltic state of Estonia, where there are only 0.84 males for every female. Because there are more than 2 males for every female in the UAE, it's safe to say that the dating market is an uphill battle for men in this country. However, the gender ratio situation in the UAE is far more complex. Over the past 2 decades, there has been an amazing construction boom in the UAE funded by oil and natural gas revenues. Consequently, the demand for low-skilled labor in the UAE has skyrocketed in recent years. Many from the local population of the Gulf states consider themselves to be above construction work and manual labor jobs. So as a result, millions of workers from Asian and Southeast Asian countries have been shipped into the UAE. These workers, who are in the majority men, usually live in labor camps on the outskirts of the cities, out of the sight from locals and expats. In fact, you could visit the UAE and not even notice that there is a massive gender disparity at all. This great mass of people are known simply as bachelors in the Gulf states. They are seen as a scourge on society, even though these workers have helped to build the Gulf states up from nothing. Many people do not know this, but there are even bachelor-free zones in the UAE. Inside these zones, single men, or more often than not, men who aren't locals or Western expats, are turned away by security at stores, malls, and at major landmarks. How harshly the UAE will handle its lopsided gender ratio going forward remains to be seen. Many people do not know that the UAE is one of the most racially diverse countries in the entire world. In fact, Emiratis are a minority in their own country. In 2013, the UAE's population was just 9.2 million people, of which only 1.4 million are Emirati citizens. 7.8 million, or the majority of this number, are expatriates. Emiratis tend to be significantly wealthier than the expatriates that live in the UAE, and most people who come to the UAE come to serve native Emiratis in one form or another, whether it be through labor or through white-collar jobs. The interesting thing, though, is that most of the foreign nationals in the UAE are not Westerners. It surprises many people to learn that just 8% of the UAE's population is composed of Western expatriates. By far, the majority of the UAE's population is composed of Southeast Asians, with 2.2 million coming from India alone. Racial tensions and racial differences in the UAE are not often discussed, but it cannot be denied that there is a huge disparity of wealth and power between the native Emiratis and the millions of foreign workers who come to serve them. When looking at the most basic facts, it's obvious that the UAE has been built upon an unsustainable foundation. An ecological footprint is a metric that measures how much strain is placed on the environment in order to support a country's population. More specifically, an ecological footprint is the total amount of biologically productive area needed to provide for everything people use. This includes food production, water harvesting, and fossil fuel consumption. If a country does not have enough ecological resources within its own territory, then there is a local ecological deficit, and it is called an ecological debtor country. Otherwise, it is an ecological remainder, and it is called an ecological creditor country. The UAE is the world's greatest ecological debtor country and has the largest ecological footprint. 10.68 global hectares of land is required to support every person in the UAE, while the UAE itself only has 0.85 global hectares available for each of its citizens. This isn't surprising because the gift of oil and natural gas has transformed the UAE into a place that simply wouldn't exist under any natural circumstances. There is so much capital and wealth concentrated in this tiny Arab Gulf state that its population has exploded in recent decades. To put this into perspective, in 1960, the UAE had a population of just 89,000, while in 2013, this number was 9.3 million. The fact that the population of the UAE surpasses the ability of the land to support it by more than a factor of 10 doesn't seem to bother the people living in the UAE, though one is left to wonder how long the unsustainable can be sustained. When it comes to sanitation, the Emirate of Dubai has had a lot of growing pains. In past years, there have been many embarrassing problems with the city's sewer systems, or lack thereof. During Dubai's economic boom in the 2000s, the city's frantic growth meant that it was stretching its existing sewage treatment infrastructure to its limits. Sewage from the areas of Dubai not connected to the municipal pipe network at the time was collected daily from thousands of holding tanks across the city and driven by tankers to the city's only sewage treatment plant. Because of the long lines and frequent delays, several tanker drivers resorted to illegally dumping raw sewage into storm drains or behind dunes in the desert. The result of sewage dumped into the storm drains was that it flowed directly into the Persian Gulf and onto the city's beaches. The sight of Dubai's pristine beaches becoming flooded with fecal matter drove away tourists at the time and severely damaged Dubai's reputation. Medical observers even warned that tourists using the beaches ran the risk of contracting typhoid and hepatitis. Today, the Dubai Municipality and Authority proudly maintains that test results show samples of the Dubai's beach water are within standards. Still, when it comes to sewers and waste management, the Emiratis are still newcomers. Even in 2013, it was reported that the Jebel Ali sewage treatment plant in Dubai receives 70% of sewage through the city's sewage network, while the remaining 30% still has to be brought in by massive sewage trucks. With all this talk of the great wealth of the UAE and splendor of the Emirate of Dubai, it begs the question, how did it become this way? Oil, of course, is the short answer, but with all these things, there is so much more to this question. The UAE has the second largest economy in the Arab world, behind Saudi Arabia. With the exception of the Emirate of Dubai, the UAE's economy remains extremely reliant on oil exports. More than 85% of the UAE's economy was based on oil exports in 2009, though this number had dropped to 77% in 2011. While Abu Dhabi and other UAE emirates have remained relatively conservative in their approach to diversification, Dubai, which has far smaller oil reserves, was bolder in its diversification policy. This economic diversification seems to have paid off, as Dubai is one of the largest expat and tourist destinations in the entire world. The UAE is very much a country still under construction. Most of this construction has been situated around the city of Dubai. Dubai has attracted so much attention, in fact, that many people assume that this amazing city is the capital of the UAE. However, if you believe this, you would be wrong. The capital of the UAE is actually Abu Dhabi, but Dubai is still a very interesting place. This city is home to the tallest building in the entire world, the Burj Khalifa, which stands at a staggering 2,717 feet tall. People living on the 80th floor of the Burj Khalifa even have to wait 2 extra minutes before breaking their fast during the holy month of Ramadan, because they are able to see the sun longer than those on the ground. Today, even with fears of decrease in reliance on oil and Dubai's formidable debt burden, the future of the UAE appears to still be bright. By many accounts, it is believed that the worst of the 2007-2010 Dubai economic crisis has passed, and Dubai's gamble on economic diversification has paid off. And by many metrics, the best is yet to come. One important metric to look at is construction. Today, 25% of the world's operational cranes are located in Dubai alone, showing that there's still room for growth on the horizon. For more top lists just like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to check out our other lists. And thanks for watching, and thanks for learning.